and we're back for another episode of the podcast. How are you guys?
Really well, thank you.
So I've got Nerida here, 3-time guest, but we're going to pretend the first ones don't exist. But I got a bone to pick with you.
Oh.
So I walked away outside, and you guys were talking behind my back, and you asked Mitchell, "What's it like being in business with Jamie?" I hear everything. I heard that.
You got supersonic hearing.
And what was your response?
Whispering. I said it's fine. We've been doing it our whole career, 11 years, and
Yeah, it's amazing.
great.
For instance, 2006.
Yeah.
That's right.
So Nerida had 2 7-figure female-only gyms in Newcastle, New South Wales, Newcastle Strong.
Yeah.
And Mitch and I used to talk about you a lot.
Oh.
So in Newcastle, we felt like we were the big fish in a small town. Our gyms were great. We'd look around. We wouldn't see many competitors that we thought, oh, they're doing great. And I remember a member joined Curry Curry, and they came from Lisson.
Aw.
And then we went down, oh, who's this Nerida lady? She's got a podcast. She's interviewing Michelle Bridges. She's the real fucking deal.
Yeah, I remember because this was, what year, 2015? maybe?
Yeah.
Or 16, 17, somewhere in that world. So it was like not as many gyms or studios back then.
Of course.
And yeah, I can't remember who that member was. You can tell me.
Tamika Harper. I remember
Oh,
everything.
there you go. And yeah, she told us about that. So you were on our radar at that point, and then we looked into it, and you were doing like a lot more than what anyone else was. And at that point, we thought we were doing a lot, and we thought, well, maybe we're not doing as much as we could be. So a bit of like a measuring stick.
So I'd love to hear your story, Nez. I think it's a really powerful one because I've heard it before. When you first walked into a CrossFit gym, something terrible happened and it really sparked you to go on this entrepreneurial journey, which leads you to what you do today, which is an emotional intelligence coach. So what happened when you walked into that gym?
So, oh God, we're talking 15, 16 years ago. I'd come back from overseas. I was 20 kilos overweight, desperate to find a way to lose the weight. Bought a house with my partner across from what was one of the first CrossFit gyms in Australia and Newcastle. And, you know, funnily enough, most people are terrified to walk into a gym for the first time. I wasn't. I'd come from a sporting background. I would see these people like lifting, you know, barbells, flipping tires, running, doing pull-ups. And I saw it and I was like, wow, that looks amazing. That's what I need to do. I had no fear. I had no insecurity. And then I walked in and I remember looking around, looking for somebody, and the owner coming up to me and looking me up and down, really kind of like awkward. And I was like, oh, look, I'm across the road. I've just moved in. I would love to join this gym. How does it work?
We love walk-ins.
Yeah, exactly. I literally walked into the gym from my house,
That's
across
like
the street.
every owner's dream.
Exactly. And he looked me up and down. He said, Dylan, this is not for you. And in that moment, I was just absolutely mortified. And it was just something
So take me back to that moment. Like, did you feel not enough? Did you feel like you weren't worth it? Did you think, what am I going to do?
The one emotion that I remember feeling was absolute humiliation. Because in that moment, as he was speaking to me, I became really aware that everyone was looking. There would have been 25 people standing around, and everyone's looked super fit, jacked. And I just felt humiliated. I felt really humiliated.
If there was a list of things that we would advise a gym owner not to do with someone who walks in for the first time, it would be that right at the very top.
Yeah.
A horrible experience.
It was awful. But in the end, you know, I now look back on that, it was such a defining moment because I left and I had the opposite experience at another gym where I was welcomed. So this isn't about CrossFit because I've been a part of the CrossFit community for over 10 years. I've had more positive experiences than ever. So sometimes when I tell that story, I don't want CrossFit gyms or people to feel offended. I had the complete opposite experience, which made me fall in love with it. And then after that, when I started my community, I kept reminding myself that I never want anyone to feel like that when they walk to the front door.
There's something you said to me once and it really stood out. The heaviest weight a member will ever lift is when they first open that door to walk in.
Yeah.
And we based our entire business on like, I don't care what you look like. I don't care how out of shape you are.
Yeah.
I don't care how uncomfortable you feel. You've got no, we welcome everyone into this space. It's so powerful.
And you said before that's like a bit of the perception that CrossFit or gyms used to have.
Yes.
I think it's still there.
Of course. Even people had it even coming to Lasom, the women's only gym.
Yeah. And I think for people like us who are in shape or played sport, we could never truly understand what it's like for someone who is out of shape, not feeling great about themselves, already feel uncomfortable. You might have walked up to that door and back for the last 10 days and finally mustered up the courage to do it. We could maybe never completely appreciate that position. So it's something for us in business and now when we work with other people, we say that you never know. And that first interaction is so important.
It's so important. And what I say to all gym owners, and if you're a gym owner or if you're a manager or a coach, do yourself a favor. Go and try something really out of your comfort zone. Go and try jiu-jitsu gym, or join a netball team. Go and play Oztag. Get outside your comfort zone and remind yourself of, like, go and be that person to walk into a space that you're not familiar with, and you will notice what comes up in you. And that's exactly what people are experiencing every single day when they come to your gym.
I'm going to start eating vegetables when I go home.
I got a quick story about that. We've shared it before, but we acquired a gym in Adamstown 6 or 7 years ago. And when we were acquiring it, I went in, like, we organised my own, and I went in to do a session.
Yeah.
First time, there was a class there, and I was walking and I was nervous.
Yeah, of course.
And I was fit, I was strong.
Exactly.
I was probably, without trumping my own horn, like the fittest and strongest there, but I was still nervous to go in for the first time.
Because now I understand emotional intelligence. Our number one human need is to feel accepted. We need to feel like we belong. And that's what every human being's craving. And if you can create a community where people feel like they belong, no matter what age, shape, size, or ability that they're at, you'll always have a thriving business.
Negative experience, positive experience.
100%.
What led you to think, I really love this? Because 99.9% of fitness business come out of passion for helping people.
Yeah.
And typically it's the person you were, how can you help that person go through the exact same journey you went through?
Well, there's a great quote that I love. You're in the best position to help the person you used to be. So one thing I was really I got super fit doing CrossFit, and it wasn't just the fitness. Like, I was doing things I never thought would be possible. I was doing 20 pull-ups in a row. I was clean and jerking 1.5 times my body weight. I could run 5 kilometers pretty quickly. Like, I was in the best shape ever. And I felt this sense of, like, confidence and worthiness and self-esteem I'd never felt before. And, for me, when I would see women coming to the gym, every single time I'd say to them, what are your goals? They would say, I want to lose 20 kilos. I want to lose 10 kilos. I want to fit into this size dress. But 6 months later, you would see them and you'd be like, what are your goals? I just want to deadlift twice my body weight. I just want to do a pull-up. I want to run a kilometer in under 5 minutes. And it was so cool to see women shift from an aesthetic goal to more of a performance-based goal. Yeah. But the funny thing was, their aesthetic goals were achieved as a byproduct.
That's something that CrossFit, I think, were the first ones to do that.
Absolutely.
Before that, it was, especially for women, how, like, skinny girls and
go to a body
losing
pump.
weight. And then it became, well, maybe not so much about that. And it can be a byproduct of it. Of course, you lose weight, you get muscle, you look objectively better, whatever. Yeah. But we saw it even for us, like with running like a boot camp style business, but even women there, like, I don't care what the scales say, I want to be able to do this, or I want to be able to do that.
Do you know what I saw? So many women, like, felt comfortable training with their crop top, training in booty shorts. Like, women were embracing their bodies and all different shapes and sizes. And one thing.
So I want to dive into that. Just for people at home, there were 2 female-only gyms. At that point in time, it was really unique.
Yes.
Really rarely. You had Fernwood.
Yeah.
But I can't ever remember seeing a group training gym ever be female-only.
Was it the only one in Newcastle?
We were the second women's-only gym at the time. And then, so I opened in 2014, and then within 4 or 5 years, there was something like 15 women's-only gyms in Newcastle. So there were 3 in Carrington at one point.
Yeah.
So it did definitely blow up, but we were not. We were the actual first gym, but there was a women's-only boot camp that started before us, and that's kind of where I got the idea. I saw these girls training on the beach. I was sort of working in a CrossFit gym, and I had people coming to me asking me all the time. So I started running these boot camps, and then it became a gym.
Great way to start a gym.
Yeah.
First.
Well, it's like a great way to start any business, isn't it? Just test and experiment.
So why female only?
So people, people always, especially men, always say, oh, it must be because women are over getting perved on and hit on at the gym. I never once had a woman in my entire time of running the gym ever say that was the reason why they came. Women want to belong to a community. And what I really believe is, like, you can't deny when genders, like, there's a different atmosphere when you're in a men's only environment or a women's only environment, and then when they're mixed.
Yeah, what happened in AFL change rooms is diabolical. Yeah. Like, that's not going to happen if there's one female in there.
Exactly. Like, there's a sort of, I remember at the time I had a partner and he was working for a company and they started bringing in equality, like, equality for women. So he was in a male only environment. And it was so interesting to watch the shift as they were bringing more women. You know, some of their practical jokes, like they had to stop doing them because it wasn't appropriate, whatever. Now, I just find that so interesting because I do think that tribal sort of communities need to exist for a reason. Like women need women's only communities, men need men only. I can't tell you how many men used to say to me when we'd have our Christmas party and partners would be invited and I would get to meet all of these girls that I'd trained all year, their husbands and partners. Men would say to me over and over, I wish there was something like this for men.
I actually thought men's sheds were a great idea.
Yeah.
They're still around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like a
maybe-
place for someone to train, to
Yeah.
play pool, to throw darts, to
Yeah.
watch the State of Origin. Like it makes so much sense. 'Cause
Yes.
It's fun hanging out with men. How good are Bucks parties? Like just that male
So
environment.
when you started or when you decided, was it, hey, I want to start a gym and then it was an afterthought of I want to be
Yeah.
women, or was it the other way around?
It was accidental. So I started running the boot camp and then more and more people were asking me for more and more sessions. And I was just doing it for a bit of fun. And so I would say to them, come to the CrossFit gym that I worked at. And they were like, oh, no, absolutely not. Wouldn't go in there. And I used to ask them why. And they would sort of say, oh, it's too intimidating. So I started thinking, okay, well, what if I started my own gym, but it was women's only? And then everyone would just like, yes, that sounds amazing. So it was really like, because I had trained in CrossFit gyms, I actually personally love training with men. You know, a lot of my best male friends today are from my CrossFit years. So I personally have no problem with it.
When you started new to business,
Yes. Oh my gosh.
probably weren't aware of the term total adjustable market. Did you think at that moment, I've just cut off 50% of possible members?
So many people said that to me. So many people, when I would stand there and I would tell 10 people I'm thinking about starting this kind of business, 8 or 9 of them would say it's a terrible idea. 1 or 2 of them would say it's a great idea. So a lot of people said you shouldn't do that. It's too small of a niche. A lot of people said a women's only gym will get very bitchy and very lots of drama. And that led me to really think about my core values. So the best thing I ever did was get really firm on my core values right from the beginning and talk about it all the time. Now, I don't know if you've ever worked for a corporate, you've seen these 10 core values on the sign at the front, you never think about them again.
Too many.
I remember listening to Chasing Excellence podcast, Ben Bergeron. I was obsessed with him.
I used to listen to that one.
Yeah, that changed my life, that podcast. He would say have 2 to 3 core values and talk about them every day. And our values were community, excellence, courage. So we used to talk about community all the time. I would talk about what it looked like, what it didn't look like. And people want to think, oh, we've got a great community. And really, they just go for breakfast on a Saturday.
It's
No.
the same 30 people out of your
Exactly.
200 that hang out together.
I
that's-
really...
Every owner we speak to,
Yeah.
they say, we need more members and
Yeah.
we've got the best community. It's
Yeah.
like, well, your community couldn't be the best because the last guy I spoke to said
Yeah.
his was the best.
And really a lot. I was at fault for doing this too. I think gym owners start a gym because they want some friends to train with. I really wanted girls to do fun things with. I would create all these amazing events like that were really unique and different and make them come along. But what I look at community is this. I want you to think about your top tier person, so your highest performer, longest member, the most well-known, and your bottom tier, the newest person in the gym, the least experienced, the one that sits up the back and is invisible. How well do they know each other? What's your cross-section like?
Yeah.
Because if you have a crew of 20 people, I'll tell you this. If you have a gym where every day you go into the gym and the same people train in the same spot, you do not have a good community. I used to make my girls move around. I would force them to go and introduce themselves to other people.
Like forced partner workouts.
100% every week. Every week I would say to them, today's a partner workout. You have to find the person you know the least in the room. And I really think this is what made La Somme different to any other gym. Like the girls used to laugh about it. They would like roll their eyes and be like, yes, okay, we get it. You want us
friends
all
on
to be
Facebook?
friends. Exactly. But you know what? I'll never forget this. Like I was really in the business. And the last couple of years, I was able to take a step out. I remember being on a holiday for 3 weeks in the US, Vanuatu. And I came back and I remember watching on the stories, there was this chick and she was in our gym and I had never seen her before. She was a weapon. And I remember, and I was messaging my coaches. I was like, who's this chick? And they're like, oh, she's from the RAF. She's just here for a month. She wanted to drop in and train. And I'm like, cool. So anyway, I get back and there's this some of the girls from the gym had organized a birthday drink thing and I was invited. So I rock up. This chick sees me from the other side of the thing. She comes straight over and she's like, excuse me, are you Nerida Bint, the owner of this gym? And I was like, yeah, I am. And she's like, oh my God, it is so amazing to meet you. She said, I've literally trained at over 100 gyms all around the world. She was a CrossFitter. She's in the RAF, so travels heaps. She said, I've never felt so welcomed and I've never experienced anything like this. I've been there for 2 weeks and all of a sudden I'm having drinks and I've got 10 new friends.
Yeah.
And for me to see that, even though I'd stepped away, that those values were still being lived, that was my highest honor.
you can't have 10 priorities. It's got to be 2 or 3.
Yes.
And then you have
yes.
to talk about them
all
every
the time.
single
and
day.
you have to not only live by them, but when the opposite happens, like I remember having hard conversations with members who came in who didn't really want to be a part of a community. They came in and they wanted to train with their headphones on. And I would say to them, I'm sorry, like I can't allow you to continue training here if you're not here for those reasons, because it will feel, I want you to think about this, right? When there are 10 people all living by the same values and one is not, everyone looks to that one person and it creates like a sort of like a confusion. So you have to live by them, but you also have to die by them too. You have to be willing to make decisions.
It's the same with staff. You can't let anyone get away with bad behavior.
100%.
We used to have it even at our gyms, and we're fortunate compared to a lot of the conversations we have now with other owners. But if we ever saw someone doing their own exercise, because we're group training, like if they just start doing their own thing, like we pull them up and say, hey, like, what are you doing? Like nicely, because if you let it go, then everyone starts doing their own thing, and then it's the circus
and what you said,
is running. The monkey's running the circus.
The top
so to
member,
speak.
the lowest member for us at Cardiff was Lindsay, and Lindsay would always introduce herself to the newest person.
That's so cool.
And she would sacrifice her own workout
that's
to
a
help
good
this
member.
new person because she went on that journey.
Yeah.
And
she knows it.
Brody and Steve would do the exact same thing, and they wanted to be coaches. It's such an important thing for that. To
give back.
Yeah, and also just to like everyone looks at you. You are the hero in that community.
100%.
What she says goes.
Yeah. I remember I talk about this all the time when I work, because a lot of my clients are gym owners. I talk about the celebrity spotlight. So you think about it, right? Like, if we were down at a cafe and Alex Hormozy walked into the cafe, 80% of those people are going to know who that is, right? And they're going to be tracking him. They're going to be going, oh my God, that's Alex Hormozy, right? If someone less famous than him, but reasonably famous, like there might be 40% of people. So in your gym, you have an Alex Hormozy, and that's usually the owner, the top athletes, the coaches. So when you are those people, you have to be so mindful of everything that you do. Who am I talking to? How am I being perceived?
Putting away your weights.
Yes. Am I living by the core values? And I think that's the hardest thing for gym owners, to get those people on board. And I think that's where emotional intelligence comes in. I can clearly see I have sort of 2 chapters of running Lassonde. I had it for 8 years. My first 4 years, I was a leader that was based on ego, control, dominance, aggression. I wasn't a leader. Like, I created an amazing community, but I had a lot of ego. And if anyone ever challenged me or gave me feedback, I had so much shame. It would come up and I wouldn't cope with it very well. But then when I started doing emotional intelligence, I was able to create a stronger community and better leaders to actually step back, because I knew how to communicate.
So when we're on our way down, Jamie reminded me of something I said, which I didn't remember. He said, you were always very complimentary of Nerida because it took her so long to move into a second location.
Yeah.
So for us, around the same time, we were opening like every 6 or 12 months for a few years on end. So I'm interested to know, like, for you, how long did it take? And then when did you feel like you were ready to like expand or to have another studio?
So it was really the demand from the public. Like, I started noticing people were traveling from Maitland and the areas up there to come to train with us.
For context, about half an hour.
Yeah, half an hour. Or they lived in town and they would come in, work, come and train. And I just had people constantly saying to me, would you consider one in Maitland? Would you open one in Maitland? And then I had a girl join who was a member, but she really was, I thought, would have made a really good manager. She was very passionate. She was very people focused. And so when she came in, I thought, now's the time. I've got somebody that I really feel like I could have trust to go and open it up. And we really hit some big hurdles. Like, we fought with the council. I didn't realize at the time was super challenging, much more strict than Newcastle. So it took us 6 months of lobbying to actually get the DA approved. Then 3 months after that, COVID happened. So it was a rough trot from the get-go, but yeah, it was something that happened really organically. I'd always had the intention to open a heap of different franchises around Australia, because I knew that this was a model that could work. But, I was just such a naive business owner. If I'd known of business, I didn't even know business mentors existed. If I'd known of you guys, I would have worked with you back then, but I just was so naive.
We always and still do wrestle with the idea of when is it time to do something new?
Yeah.
When should you just stick with what you got and keep improving and
The business mentor
that?
thing's interesting, right? Because when we were 25 to 28, very arrogant, very egotistical. We know what works well. And our model was crazy. We were opening gyms for like less than $5,000, 100 members, 50K, like huge direct debits, no expenses.
Yeah.
And we often say, like, what if we met the right person at that time? How much further would we be ahead?
Yeah.
We may have sold 300 boot camps.
Yeah.
And then went bankrupt.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
sometimes like it's almost like, we often think, oh, could have we done it better?
Yeah.
What's happened's happened.
And I always think everything like we wouldn't be here right now if that had happened, because we might have ended up with 20 or 30 or 100 or 300 got sued for something. Or
exactly.
You don't know. Like
exactly. And I'm a big believer of that. Like I've thought that many times, because Maitland financially kind of did ruin me in the end by the time COVID happened. But there have been many times I sit and think, why didn't I just keep Newcastle? Why didn't I just crank it up a notch, take a step back and just let it make me money? But the thing is, if Maitland hadn't happened, I wouldn't have had that full-on spiritual crisis that I had in 2020. And my partner broke up with me, businesses were closed and going through COVID. And I wouldn't have gone on this journey of emotional intelligence and understanding I had a lot of pain that I hadn't really looked at. And I wouldn't trade that for anything, because now I love what I do and I love that part of my life, but I'm happy with where it's taken me.
With the gyms, obviously lots of physical transformations, but I would almost argue that people are there for emotional reasons.
100%.
So you're already
100%.
coaching people
Yes.
with emotions and mentally before you even went to do the next thing.
100% I was, but this is what a lot of people do, especially coaches. They love to focus on fixing others, but they actually ignore their own work. And I still struggle with that today. Like with there's a great quote that I love: don't let your strengths negate your weaknesses. So my strength is I have a very powerful voice. I have a very strong ability to see someone and see the pain that they have and know how to help them. But on the flip side, the shadow aspect of that is sometimes I focus too much on other people and not enough on myself. Hence why it's always been so hard for me to achieve the one thing I've always wanted, which was to get married, find my soulmate and start a family. That's only just happened. Why? Because in 2020 I was forced, we had a 6-month lockdown almost. I was forced to really sit and do the work by myself. Like it's like God said to me, like I was living alone. You couldn't see anyone. And it was like all of that got shut down. I couldn't see anyone. I couldn't go visit anyone. I had to just go within. And it was such a I don't know if you've heard the term dark night of the soul, but it was so freeing, because now I'm actually a person, I'm not even telling, like I was so full of pain. Like I had suicidal thoughts my whole life. And I had a lot of trauma growing up, but today I'm actually a human being that really likes herself.
So do you feel like the gyms you were just like, your identity was attached to the gyms?
Oh my God, 100%.
Successful gyms, unsuccessful, nothing else matters?
All of my identity was in that.
It's an interesting thing.
We had challenges with that too, because for as long as we'd been in business, we'd been the guys who owned boot camps and gyms. And then
becomes your identity.
Yeah, so to be anything other than that.
And you absolutely, 100%, you attach your self-worth to the member number.
Oh my gosh, I did.
And it's so unhealthy.
And I went through, like, not only that, so I then had a bit of a spiritual crisis when it came to all the vaccine stuff. And then I got completely cancelled by my community. Like I went through the ring of fire. I didn't leave my house for nearly 3 weeks at a time. Like it was bad. I had people writing to me saying, are you okay? Like I'm seeing your name on Reddit, on, like in the paper. Like I was crucified. But you know what? I now look back on that and I'm like, wow, I survived that really public. Like I've survived a few kind of public, castrations.
So effectively you stood up for yourself like, hey, I remember it clearly.
Yeah.
I remember it was, so in 2021, if you remember, people could train with you if they were vaccinated, and people couldn't if they couldn't.
Remember that whole period.
awful.
There was a few gym owners in Newcastle that refused to open to vaccinated members because they felt it was unfair.
Yeah. Well, this is exactly what I talk about with your values. My value is community. And I said to my girls, I'll never forget the day we sat down, and it was really hard because I had 10 staff and I would say 70% of them were like, Nerida, you need to follow the law. Like, well, it wasn't even a law. It was whatever it was. And I only had 2 or 3 of them supporting me. And I said, girls, I don't think you understand. I would rather close this business completely than ever separate my community. My number one core value is community. And if it's all or nothing, like I will run boot camps down at the beach until we're all allowed back in together at the same time. And I was so angry. I couldn't believe that they couldn't see that. I was like, I've built this whole business off community, off not excluding people. That was my story. So
it's so interesting, core values, right? Because like, are they actually your values until you stood up for them?
Exactly. Well, it's when you're willing to die for them. And that's what I said to them. I'd rather lose all of this than ever do that. I remember sitting there. I remember I had so many nights of like, I questioned myself every day.
Yeah, and
I was like, am I the bad person here?
You had 2 gyms, you had 500 members, 10 staff.
Police were showing up both, constantly.
Yeah. It's hard to remember too, because like I remember like Lisoma Newcastle, like it was so popular. Like it was in the paper, you had the podcast, you were really ahead of the game with lots of things you were doing. Yeah. So that's why we like looked up to you.
That's why so many people, like the minute and in hindsight, I probably... in hindsight, there was some emotional immaturity there. I probably could have held those values, but not been so abrasive about them on social media. I was quite, that kind of ruined me, I think.
If it was for Mitch, I would have said some stuff here and there.
Well, I'm just a totally different person. Like, even if, especially now with a family, like, even if I had the core value of our gym was community, and it was like, I would just be like, well, fuck the community. I need to support my family. And honestly, like,
and that's so fair. And that's the thing is, this is what woke me up to that. Like I was a single woman. And I had nothing to worry about.
Even at that point, I didn't have kids. My partner supported herself. Like it was just hitting me.
Yeah, and that's where partnership is so important, right?
Yeah.
Because I was like you.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck this.
Yeah.
This is stupid.
Yeah.
Like watching the nude.
Yeah.
But I could at least rant to Mitch.
Yeah.
And then he talked me off the ledge.
Yeah. God, I needed one of you.
I was just like, just don't watch the I was just like, just don't watch the news.
Yeah.
And he was like, but it's so dumb. And I was like disagreeing that it was dumb. My thought was always like, I can't control anything.
Yeah.
And I know it's like a lame point of view, but I'm just going to let that go and I'll focus on what I can.
I was walking through worse. This isn't fucking 1 meter. Like this is garbage.
I remember feeling
such a crazy time.
So because with exercise, with a gym, obviously we're using exercise as a way to help people.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
With that, with the physical transformation comes emotional transformation.
Yeah.
So was it a natural transition for you into this step you're in now?
Okay, so I'm going to be really real with you. So I'd always wanted to get married and have kids. That was always my thing. Like I grew up, very lonely in my childhood, and I always used to think, I just can't wait to get married and find that person. But whenever you put something on a pedestal, it makes it harder to ever achieve it. So every time I would have a relationship, all my pain would come up and I would always end up sabotaging it. So in the same month of the lockdown, I went through a breakup with a guy I lived with and I was with for 3 years, thought I was going to get married to. So it was like this. And so I was all of a sudden homeless, all of a sudden broken up, businesses going under. It was just like, what's happening?
Just raining shit on Nerida.
It was definitely, it's called a divine storm where everything just falls apart at the same time to wake you up. And about 3 months later, I was living by myself and I was like, why does this relationship keep not working out for me? What is it? And I will say this, prior to that, I'd always been into self-development, growth and stuff like that, but it was always more outwardly focused, like positive, sort of like not really looking at me. And so this was the first time I actually looked inward and I was like, I'm the common denominator here, right? And I remember Googling, what is it that men look for in a wife? I'm not even kidding you. I Googled that.
ChatGPT today.
Yeah, that would tell you a good answer.
Yeah. And
what did it tell you?
Well, I expected to see, a woman that's beautiful, a woman that's funny, intelligent, successful, kind.
Compliant with the government.
Yeah. No. Yeah. The one thing that kept coming out was emotional connection. Men crave feeling emotionally connected and feeling accepted by a woman. And at the time, I remember having this moment of like, I don't even know what that means. And I was like, so one thing that was really hard for me to grapple with, my partner at the time broke up with me and he kept saying the same thing to me over again. He kept saying, Nerida, I feel like I'm just not good enough for you. And I didn't really know what that meant. And then now I understood why. I could never accept him because I couldn't accept myself. Because my pain from my childhood of my dad never accepting me, deep down was leaking out onto the relationship. So I stopped everything and I went inward and I read all the books I could. Online seminars, workshops, retreats, like, to this day, I'm not qualified in anything. I'm completely self-taught, self-educated, self-led, and I love that about myself. I listen to things. I take bits and pieces, leave what doesn't resonate. I don't resonate with labels. You'll never hear me say to someone, oh, yeah, your ex-partner's a narcissist or, he's toxic, he's got toxic masculinity. I will never live by any labels because I really believe that we're all doing the best that we can, and most people suffer from one of 5 emotions: anger, shame, sadness, fear, and guilt. And when we understand which one is driving us in a painful way, then we can understand how to move through it so we can feel more free.
So do you feel like in 2020, when Lissome didn't go well, that was due to your poor emotional intelligence and how you were responding to things?
Yeah, I do. Now I look back, like there are parts of me that wish I had been, like I will say this, I was in the public spotlight, but I was also going through a really tough time. And yeah, I definitely think there are things I look back on and I regret, and things I posted when I was so angry and so full of fear that I do regret. I would say I was very reactive. I wasn't as emotionally balanced as I am now.
So now you're helping people with that. You mentioned before we hopped on here that you work with business owners.
Yeah.
Are they predominantly business owners? Or
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you find that's different in the makeup of that for a business owner compared to someone who's not?
Okay, I just think business owners are naturally, like I will say this, I think there's a culture within business owners where they're naturally more willing to invest in themselves. They're naturally more likely to do self-development. They have a higher standard for themselves. I do have clients that aren't business owners, but to work with me, it's quite expensive. So, I think for business owners, it kind of feels normal to sort of invest in yourself.
So just the term emotional intelligence and connection, I don't know what it means either.
Yeah.
So how does poor emotional intelligence show up in business? Because when
the
I
reason
hear,
we ask you, because people watching this will be business owners.
Yeah.
So, and we
Yep.
talk with a lot of
Yep.
them, and we notice similarities
Yes.
between them.
Yep.
They have bad beliefs
Yep.
around this, or they're blaming this
Yeah.
about this, or
Love that.
I used to think mindset was hocus pocus. I thought just do the fucking damn job.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they just won't do it.
Yeah.
So is it the chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
Like they have the skills, here's the playbook, but they don't fucking do it.
Okay, so there's two reasons. Most people don't understand how much people's mother and father wounds are still playing out. So when you're raised in a home where, so we all have an emotional home. Okay, so that's formed within ages 0 to 7. So you inherit the emotional home of your parents. So what the adults suppress, the child will express. So I got a lot of shame, rejection and loneliness from my dad. I got a lot of sadness and confusion from my mum. So I would say that most of my life I have felt like deep down not very worthy, not very good about myself. I've had a lot of sadness. I've had a lot of loneliness, right? And a lot of shame. So if people avoid things because they avoid what it's going to make them feel. Okay, so I will say most people in business deep down have a lot of inadequacy. So they deep down, if you doubt yourself or if you make something bad about yourself, you deep down don't have self-trust or self-worth.
So your emotional home was that someone challenges you in the workplace and you think, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yes,
And sorry,
exactly.
just to take,
Shame, that's shame.
And sorry, did you say you got that from one of your parents, or they
Yes.
didn't have that,
Yeah.
or they did have that?
My father had a lot of shame that he never acknowledged in himself, so it got passed on to me. My mother had a lot of sadness and depression that she didn't acknowledge or heal in herself, so that got passed on.
So the realist in me, or the pessimist in me, is like, how do you know that? Like, how do you know that they had that and they passed it on to you?
Well, now I can see it because now I look back and I'm like, I can see that my father, you want to ask yourself this, think about your two parents, right? Now, most people don't really understand emotions at all. Okay. So emotion is a one-word feeling statement. Okay. So it's not like, oh, well, I just feel like they don't care about me, or it's not a sentence. It's one word. So it's things like shame, guilt, sadness, fear, inadequacy, inferiority, insecurity, frustration, agitation. So when you think about your parents and you think about who they are as people, like how do you think both your parents feel most days, especially on their bad days, right? Is your father, like, does he struggle with frustration and anger?
He's met my dad pretty angry.
Yeah. So that's going to be passed on in some way, right? Now, what I want you to think about, and I'm not saying you're an angry guy, but you might have an intolerance to anger or frustration.
Well, I'll give you like an example of like what I think you mean. I think will help the audience at home. So I grew up extremely poor.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
So like I value security.
Yes, of course.
So
that
then
makes sense.
I am risk adverse with investments because I want to provide for my family.
That makes so much sense.
And people think, Jamie, you've got enough money. Like, what are you worried about? Like, we're fine. Like, that comes up for me.
Yeah.
But that's just your upbringing. The way I view that is like your upbringing, as opposed to it being like from your mother or your father or shame. Like, that's not an emotion though, right?
That's a circumstance.
So it would be, I guess it'd be fear of being poor again,
Yes,
right?
exactly. So so this is great because what often happens is we tend to either idolize or demonize our childhood or our parents, okay? But the work is to humanize. So either idolize, I work with a lot of people that are like, no, I came from a good family. My parents are good people. Okay, but do you see the faults within them? Do you see any dysfunction? Are you able to be completely honest with them? When you come to them with a problem, do they listen and do they accept you no matter what? Or we demonize and we go, they did this, I never want to be like that. And so what we do is we swing too far to the other side. What we run from, we run into somewhere down the line. I'll give you an example. I've got a client who's a multimillionaire and he came to work with me and he said, and his story is he grew up obese, really obese. So you imagine the pain he was left in, right? And then when he was 18, he said, fuck this, I'm going to get healthy, I'm going to get fit. So he lost like 50 kilos, he met a woman, he started a business and he made all this money, right? So is successful. Then they had children. And do you know what he said? I never want my children to ever grow up to be obese. So he was always super healthy, super focused, super like, but guess why he came to see me? His eldest daughter had developed anorexia. Why do you think that is? Because the adults suppress, the child will express. He didn't acknowledge that he was running from his childhood so much, he was running into creating pain for his kids. So what we need to do is when we humanize, we see the good and the bad in everything. So from my childhood—
I guess what Mitch's perspective is, Mitch is like, well, but how do you connect the dots? And I guess that's why you have a coach to try and help you.
Yeah, and that's
connect the
because
dots.
it's like that's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Like if you break that down, it's like, okay, but if it's like trying to figure out what your mum was like between ages 0 to 7 and that—
Well, what's she like now?
Yeah.
Because most of our parents haven't changed.
Right. So
Most of them haven't changed at all.
and then you can connect.
Yeah.
the dots.
And what I ask people is look at where the pain is in your life, right? Right now. Like where everyone has pain somewhere. You can't tell me you don't.
Yeah.
It's a part of being a human on this planet, right? So where is your pain? And this isn't about blaming parents. Like I've totally forgiven my parents. Like I've never had this conversation with them. I talk about this all the time on podcasts. Like I see them that they were doing the best that they could. But we have to sit with two things. Our parents can have been doing the best that they could and also maybe some needs weren't met. And that's okay. It doesn't mean anything. It's just our work to do the work so that we don't pass that on to our children. Because emotional intelligence isn't just about being emotionally stable. It's about when someone comes to you with their pain, do they feel like they can come to you?
I guess that's what I want to get to. So emotional intelligence as the leader, CEO, founder of a business.
Yep.
How have you seen that show up?
Yeah. We don't realize when we're giving feedback to people, when we're trying to develop people, how much they have their own wounds. So when you understand, when you sit with someone and this person often feels like, and this is so like, okay, when you do this work, you will start to see it in everyone around you, right? You can even notice, like I can be talking, with a couple and I'll be talking through something and they'll be super, super present. And then all of a sudden I'll get to a certain point and one of them will be like uncomfortable, like looking away. It's like all these tiny little things that it's called emotional attunement.
So I'm trying to think of an example in our business. So Dylan, one of our oldest staff members, been with us for a long time, great bloke, doesn't care about money, just wants to be involved and included and just feel like a part of the team.
Yep, that's so cool.
So how like—
Well, I think a better question is like, how could that affect how a business is run?
Yes. So
if someone has a certain emotion, what can that—
People always leave. Okay, people value a few things in life. I want to feel seen. I want to feel understood. I want to feel valued, and I want to feel accepted. People never leave their work, rarely for the reasons they say. Most people leave because of emotional reasons.
Can you repeat those 4 things, sorry?
They want to feel seen. They want to feel understood. They want to feel valued, and they want to feel accepted.
So Dylan wants to be seen by spending time with us.
Yep.
Dylan gets value from spending time with us.
Yep.
He's with us outside of work. He's accepted. What was the last one?
Understood.
Understood.
Do you think you understand him and his pain?
Okay.
What are his challenges? What's going on for him at home behind that he doesn't maybe share?
Yeah.
That's the thing. And I would say that most of us don't really understand what's going on for people because we're so wrapped up in what's going on for ourselves.
And then do you see like if someone has a certain emotion, then that's affecting their hiring in a business or their their culture in the business.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Like what's the flow-on effect of that? Like not talking about Dylan.
Yeah.
Like,
if you're a gym owner.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, okay, so if you're a leader, right, you know, how comfortable do you think people are to come to you and communicate with you or bring you feedback or bring you any sort of criticism or anything at all, right? And how do you deal with that? Like, do you lean in? Can you lean in, have those conversations and lead them the way that they want to be led? Or do you react or do you withdraw and just avoid? Because we do one of two things, right? I'm more explosive. And so naturally it's easy to spot my dysfunction because I kind of project and like get really aggressive. But a lot of people withdraw and just avoid and sort of disappear. That's also damaging to a relationship. So when someone's coming to you and you're a leader and you're avoiding hard conversations, they're eventually going to feel what? Not seen, not heard, not valued. So they're going to leave. So, you know, it's so important for us to understand. I think the biggest thing I could say to people is learn how to have those hard conversations. And in my online course, for $500, you can buy it. It's down from $2,000 at the moment. It takes you through all of this. It takes you through understanding how to communicate with people. It takes you through understanding the emotions people feel and actually how to spot them. It helps you be able to hold space for those emotions and actually be with someone. Because I will say this, like, what I do now, you know, I get the window into people's darkest sort of moments. You know, I get to see the pain. They tell me the stories, the trauma that they haven't shared with anyone. It's the biggest honor, right? And I would say that creates such strong loyalty. So if you can be an owner, a business owner that can hold space for the humanness in a person and just actually accept them, because I think what most people really struggle with is if you really see the ugly parts of me, you won't accept me. There's something wrong with me. And if you can be someone that really does that for people, that's the only reason I was able to create what I created with Lasomme, because I had so much pain and I wanted people to feel like they belonged. So I did a lot of that for other people. It was just I did it before I did it for myself.
So,
does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So if you saw a company that had a lot of churn in their staff, there is a good chance.
People, emotional intelligence.
And obviously it can be
100%.
pay and everything else, but there's a good chance that it would come back to that.
I'll say this, like, when people are leaving over and over and over, ask yourself, are they really leaving for the reasons they're telling me? And if they're not telling me the truth, why is that? Because everyone wants to be a good communicator. Like I see this a lot with people like leaders. Oh, that person just won't communicate. Have you actually ever stopped and asked yourself, am I a safe person for people to communicate with? Like, have you ever actually taken responsibility for that? Like, I would say I think I'm a good communicator, but I still struggle. Like, I still see myself cut people off or jump in or, you know, like being a good communicator, I will say to people, do one thing. Listen, like when someone speaks, when they finish, count to 3 in your head. Count to 3 before they finish, after they finish, before you speak. Do you know what often happens? They'll start speaking again because people don't like the silence. And then when they finish speaking.
Sales 101.
Yeah, count to 3 again and then they'll keep going. And then all of a sudden, what does that person feel? Really understood.
Yeah, they told you the real reason.
Exactly.
So you get that with cancellations at the gym.
Yes.
Oh, I had this bill that come up.
Yeah.
Did you? Or is it that?
Yeah. People are never really honest because they feel so much shame and unworthiness. And if you can take all that away and you can actually go person to person real, then that's where I really think you'll have raving fans. And if you can do that for your team, because the way I look at a gym is you've got the owners, then you've got the staff, then you've got the community, the active community, then you've got the fringe community. And the fringe community is that member that shows up, that mum that shows up every day. It's her family that when she goes home, she takes.
Yeah, it's all the people who are byproduct.
100%. The one she's cooking all these healthy meals for, taking them for walks, playing with them at the park because she's healthier now.
And I think from like a staffing perspective, we talk with a lot of owners who aren't happy in their business because they're doing all of the things.
Of course.
And are they doing all the things because they can't hold down staff members? Maybe they can't afford them, whatever the reason may be. But for us, we've always enjoyed business because we've had good staff underneath us that have done all the things that maybe we don't want to be doing every day.
But I would argue that's probably because you don't have any control issues.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're happy to sort of take a step back.
Well, I guess my point is more around if people could master that for
Yes.
themselves and they
Yeah.
could have a
Yeah.
team,
Yeah.
then they would enjoy their business more and enjoy their life.
Do you think that people aren't developing a team because they can't find people to work for them, or because they can't let go of control?
It's different for different people. I don't think people really have an issue finding people. I don't think they probably try very hard.
Yeah.
I think it's probably part control.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then probably if they do have someone in,
Yeah.
they don't manage them well. They don't have systems for them. And it's just the whole.
Well, there's two things that I want to wrap on. So Nerida will come into your business and visit your workplace and give like a leadership talk to your staff if you feel like you need more emotional intelligence or you're not connecting with your team. But to answer both your questions, why don't people work for me? Why would they work for you if you are an emotional mess?
Exactly.
Why would they work for you?
I think there's so much that owners could benefit from this because exactly if you look at it from the other way, you invert the question. It's like, well, I'm a chaotic mess of a human. Like I'm erratic. I'm changing my mind all the time. I'm yelling at you. I'm calling you after hours and like fuck this. Like and maybe that has stemmed from
and a lot of it is too. A lot of gym owners, and I definitely was the same. A lot of business owners have what's called, they assume negative intent. So when someone's not showing up, not doing their job, we immediately go into, you're just lazy, or you're just this, or you don't care,
Yeah, you're pure evil.
Yeah, to move to positive intent and be like, okay, this person isn't really showing up the way that they normally do. What must be going on for them? How can I approach this conversation and say, hey, I've noticed you've been late a little bit lately. I've noticed something's going on. Is everything okay?
Jamie, I've noticed you keep leaving the towel on the floor. Like, I know that you want to hang it up.
is everything okay?
The towel wants to dry.
Yeah,
Why are you in such a rush? Is everything okay?
But one thing I'll say about this too is I find this so interesting, right? My partner, very, very successful. And, you know, I'm the complete opposite. Like I work just enough, we've talked about this, just enough to be successful, but I'm not what I would call a hard worker. Like I love to relax. I love to enjoy life. And I watch my partner killing himself at work all the time. And, you know, it's really interesting. Now we've come together. He's so different to me. And I watch him. He's built this huge business. He could easily take a step back, but yet he goes to work 6 o'clock every morning, lucky if he's home by 4 o'clock. And it's really interesting how it impacts our relationship. And he's started to see he has issues letting go of control. What's that? That's an identity rooted in my self-worth is wrapped up in needing to be this person in the business. Because I would argue if you value wealth, that's very different to valuing being important. And sometimes you get both, but I had to learn this the hard way, right? Like, you know, do you want to be wealthy and free? And if that you do, you need to learn how to manage people, right? Because people are going to be the ones that give you that freedom. So, you know, I see my partner who has, when I was at the peak of Lassam, like for the last 3 or 4 years, I worked in the business 10 to 15 hours a week. I loved doing this. I would go out on podcasts, I would travel, I would get out of the business because I enjoyed that. Whereas I see my partner in it every day, just hating it. And I'm like, we don't move a muscle without meeting a need.
Yeah.
Absolutely every day of the week. You are doing that because it's filling some need in you. What is that? And he's like, poor guy. Can you imagine being in a relationship with me? And he's
Will
just
he
like,
listen to this?
Yeah, he will. I'll send it to him. So it's just interesting, right? If you are in a place where you're working so much, but you have to ask yourself, what need is that meeting? It's filling your ego.
Yeah. Well, Nerida, we're out of time. I'm really sorry.
Oh, no. Thank you for having me.
So good having you on. I love what you recommend.
you.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, guys. I love what you do. And just want to say, I just want to acknowledge you guys, like for the work that you do. I wish I'd had you guys back when I had the gyms. And yeah, I just appreciate everything you do to help everyone around you be more successful. And, you know, I really admire the partnership you guys have and how successful you are together. So
I don't know if we would have helped you back then. We might have grown your business and stole some of our members.
Exactly. All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Nerida.
thank you.